What I love about marketing is there's still room for gut, right? And being just a good marketer, understanding user psychology and user behavior. We figure out what's true and have different opinions from a variety of people on our marketing team. And that's how we make decisions together and not in a silo. When you're really building a category and past 9 figures and omni-channel, it takes a variety of inputs, even from outside of the marketing team, from our retail. We had so many people coming into our retail store saying they saw our billboard. That's what drove them in store. The only way we heard that was from our retail staff that just said, hey, people keep talking about this billboard. We would have never captured that through or even our survey tools or anything we were running. And so I think it just takes experience and then being willing to listen to your team and a variety of sources to then triangulate and make decisions.
How did Spotlight Oral Care get 6 million views and over $30,000 in earned media value on TikTok? How did Plant People drive a 50% decrease in cost per ad to cart and over a 30% increase in ROAS? To go big like these brands, you gotta think small and work with mini social micro-influencers to create authentic UGC for your brand. Tired of hunting down and DMing creators on social, negotiating back and forth, only to have their one-off post flop and not impact your sales? Leave it to Mini Social to handle all the nitty-gritty of booking the right creators for your brand, delivering top-quality content you can use across your ads and organic social media. Ready to try them out for yourself? Get 15% off your first project when you start in Q2. To claim your D2C listener discount, just go to dtc.minisocial.com. Brett, welcome to the D2C Podcast. I'm a huge fan of Kizik. You've been there a long time. You've been there through their pretty meteoric and probably helped a lot with their meteoric rise. Talk a little bit about what it was like when you joined Kizik in 2019.
Yeah. So I joined summer of 2019. It's a pretty long evolution, actually. A lot of people think, they didn't really hear about Kizik until, 2019, 2020, and as we've grown. But our founder, Mike, actually started this way back when in like 2015. He's a serial inventor and just kind of one of those mad scientist genius, people. And he saw a problem. And, at the time he was getting ready to exit OGO, the golf or the bag company, and was acquired by Callaway Golf. And he saw a problem and he's always been one, if he sees a problem, he wants to solve it. And so he said, why are we still putting on our shoes the same way we have for, hundreds and hundreds and, thousands of years. And so he actually started to develop the idea, back then and started coming up with ways to put on shoes, hands-free. And eventually, fast forward a couple of years, he, as he sold and exited OGO, he bought the rights to all those patents out and started Kizik. And he took a few people with him and started to develop the concept behind it and put out a few, products to test and see if he could find some product market fit. And really never found that fit. And so, when I had left Purple and my CMO there, Alex, we both signed up to go to start with Kizik in 2019. And then, it was really, when we started, the product was really focused on kind of aging America. The silhouettes were leather, they were heavy, tailored to the older demographic. And so they were just trying to figure out, how do we scale this? How do we grow? And that's when I came on.
Amazing. Can we just back up for 1 minute? How long were you at Purple for?
Yeah, so about 3 years. So
in the heat of the mattress wars. Or sorry, was that the mattress wars, or was that when Purple kind of jumped out ahead of everyone?
No, it was definitely the mattress wars. So, there was a couple pioneers in the space that came before Purple, but when I joined, they had, it was about a year into where they had started, but still trying to figure out, growth and a lot of battle between Casper and Tuft and Needle and kind of the pioneer bed in the box, founders. And so those were crazy days too.
I bet. So what did you take? So you come to Kizik. There's this amazing product. Had the silhouettes evolved, or when you started, the silhouettes were very much still more functional than they were considered stylish, maybe?
Yeah, 100%. I think at that time it was still kind of a proof of concept. It was, hey, there were some really talented people from the product side and manufacturing that had previously made bags for OGO and were kind of getting into the footwear space, and there was a couple shoe dogs that had joined that had been in there, but really the idea was, if we want to scale this brand and become a major player on, in the e-commerce space, we need to come up with some silhouettes, both that would fit at a price point for online. And at that time, Allbirds was pretty dominant, and, they had a $99 shoe and kind of just a basic sneaker. And so we looked at a lot of what the marketplace had and said, hey, we need to get a little bit younger and bring price point down a little bit. And so about a year and a half or so after I had joined, we came out with 2 new silhouettes. One that had our exposed technology, our cage, and then one that was internal. And those, really helped us start to tap into what was, already a booming market with again, Allbirds and others on the DTC side. And that's kind of where we started to see a lot of growth.
I'm curious, in that first year when you were advertising a more functional product to a more specific audience, I bet it worked well. I bet even just what you knew from your digital marketing background, in that, like, you probably saw some good traction in that first year as well.
It was a bit of a slog, to be honest.
Interesting.
So our price points were $159 to $179, and there was, again, heavy leather dress shoes, not really casual, and so it really was. We were predominantly male over the age of 65, so we were really narrow in who we were targeting. But yeah, we found some traction to validate product market fit, and there was interest there, but we just felt like that was too narrow of an audience for us to scale. And so that's when we began working on, rebranding, and also working on these new silhouettes. For those that know about footwear, it takes a long time to go from concept to, a tech pack, to production. And so that was one of the first things that the company had, kind of decided, is if we were going to go this route, we had to get behind reshaping the brand and product.
And then, so early on with this new brand package, you found some good success on Meta. Is that where you found your first sort of great product market fit there?
Yeah, we having been at Purple and taken some of the playbook from there, we knew that like Purple, it was very demonstrable. We had a very demonstrable product that we needed to show and communicate to people. It didn't work just by showing someone wearing the shoes, more of a stylish layout or a lay flat or something, but we had to show it. And so we dove into video head first, and yeah, social advertising was the backbone of where we're at, mixed with, a lot of YouTube. We had kind of figured out a formula for YouTube from our previous work and brought some of that to Kizik. So we, shout out to the Harmon brothers. We invested a good amount with them and kicked off again with this rebrand and new product. We did a video with the Harmon brothers, really demonstrating and entertaining and, kind of that infotainment style. And again, those things kind of all mixed together. We started to really scale, and then, yeah, we're able to spend heavily on Meta for a growth lever that previously wasn't there.
It's funny. This is a theme that comes up on the podcast again and again right now, is this idea of true top of funnel, and it doesn't get a lot more true top of funnel than a Harmon Brothers ad, especially in 2020 there. What was that process like? Was it, I guess it was probably a big chunk of marketing budget to a bit of a leap of faith. Obviously you knew that the brand had that personality, it had that functionality that could be interesting for people. And it was just a bit of a leap of faith, but it worked. And then it had a halo effect across all your marketing channels. You were using assets of it, and you were using like the attention that it generated into lower funnel marketing tactics.
For sure. Yeah. Back then, there wasn't a whole lot of marketing budget. So there was a lot of convincing. I think we were fortunate because we had some experience of running some of these type of campaigns where, you're investing, sometimes several $100,000s, into, a singular idea. And obviously there's cut downs and things that you can, break off from that. But yeah, it's a lot of, there is a definite leap of faith there. And so we were able to, and there's a lot of testing that goes into that. You test little mini concepts, and there's dozens of hooks, intros, and then you kind of modularly move pieces of content around to find your hero piece that you could really drive behind. And yeah, that definitely has a halo effect. I think, for us, we wanted to get as much awareness as possible. And I think especially coming into a category that we were disrupting, giving people a different way to think about shoes was really important, and education and again, kind of keeping people entertained were the two goals that we had. And so we were able to do that really effectively with video views and a really, like you said, top of funnel, what probably people would think is more brand today or outside of top of funnel. It was driving people so that, maybe 2 months down the road, when you were in more of the consideration stage or actively shopping, you're like, hey, what was that commercial I saw with our first commercial had a guy sliding down a banister and landing into a pair of shoes. And
perfect.
We really wanted to imprint some type of brand recall so that when you were ready and in market, you would think of Kizik.
That's super cool. When you created this asset in terms of distribution, did you get it onto TV right away? Did you create it with TV in mind, or how did you handle TV back then?
Yeah, no, actually we, for the first few years, we didn't run anything on TV. It was all, social, and obviously, some paid search and YouTube were, our primary levers. In fact, we didn't probably not till end of 2020, 2021, did we probably actually mid 2021, we started running TV at a small scale. But yeah, it was all built for, again, social awareness and what we knew to be true about, our experience at Purple and how to drive, not only just drive awareness, but we needed to ring the cash register too. And so I think, those were our bread and butter of YouTube and at the time, Facebook.
Very cool. One of the things that I think is interesting for a lot of brands that we talk to is this sort of this sometimes false, sometimes real dichotomy between brand and performance. And I feel like with you guys, you have it on two fronts, because you have brand and performance in terms of your shoe, right? Where you can advertise its functionality, you can advertise like the neat part of it. And then you've got brand, like the overall brand, like could you be a Yeezy? Could you, like that on being a 10 on that scale. There's also the advertising side of brand versus performance and how they play together. So where is Kizik at now in terms of this dichotomy?
Man, that's like a $1 million question. This idea of brand versus performance, especially in a space where, not to bring up Purple again, but it was just very different. Selling a mattress, no one was looking for their mattress to be fashionable or a statement of who they are as a person. And so as we came on to footwear, the priority for people is, it's style / fashion, it's comfort, and then, style again, really. Those are like the top three, desires from our audience as we looked at it. And then maybe underneath that is function and durability and performance. And so, it's been a real fun challenge for us. I think early on and over the years, we've spent a lot of our effort and time, leaning on our performance, meaning our shoe performance and the functionality behind that and what it does. And, but again, just like we did early on, the idea of us being able to grow into what we want to be, $1 billion brand, there's an evolution. And for us, that evolution is how we resonate with people throughout their life. And again, it's a statement that they make. Every time you make a decision to put on a piece of clothing, including footwear, you're making an active choice to represent who you are. And so for us, we've had to learn that, as we've leveled up our styles, that we also need to communicate that through the brand. And we've relied on humor and other things to be entertaining. And I think there's a place for that. But as we evolve and get a little bit more aspirational, leaning into style and tapping into culture and what drives people's interest every day or the brands that they relate to. And so we're right in the middle of going through a pretty big shift in our brand. I'd say it's pretty close to a rebrand, and we're really excited about it, where we can again tap into areas of people's lives that we can inspire and cultivate trust and again be looked at as yes, we always want to lean on what differentiates us, but we want to be a style statement in their closet too.
What are some lessons that you can take? So recently in the news over the past couple of years have been the struggles of the unicorn in the space with Allbirds. And so as you go through this journey and as you prepare this new role, like what are some learnings that you sort of take from not the full downfall, but the troubles that Allbirds is facing?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they've been a brand that we looked at a lot, and I have a lot of respect for what they've done. I think they really nailed their audience, right? They really honed down on sustainability and speaking to that as first and foremost. And I think, on our side, that's hands-free. That's our differentiator. I think there's an opportunity for brands to get distracted and move away from kind of their core competency. And I think it's really important for us as we've gone through these different exercises and, updated our brand, that while we maybe don't always lead with hands-free as the primary message and we're hitting people over the head with it, that it's always present and always part of our story, because otherwise you're in a sea of competitors that are all saying the same thing. It's, they're winning on brand and they're all using the same materials and colors, and maybe you can become innovative around that. But for us, it's our moat. And so I think we've learned that just leaning into who we are and celebrating that, but there's a way to do that where we can really bring in some of these elements that make, brands great. And so, I think that's one of the main things I learned from them. And I think they're, I don't want to speak for them, but having read some of their, articles in the news is, they're getting back to really focusing on their DNA, which is sustainability. And so I think that's important for brands to remember of, stay true to who you are as you're evolving and growing and trying to traverse, whatever stage of growth that you're in.
And categories, right? As soon as you go away from that one thing, you're in the waters with Nike and and these legacy brands. So I see it as being a really interesting challenge for Kizik as it goes, because it's funny. Like when I look at I think that's a great way of thinking about it. That you every time you put on a pair of shoes, you're kind of choosing who you are. In some ways, but so often that choice is made like I've got other things that I'm trying to be who I am, so I'm just going to get my shoes on as quick as possible.
Sure.
So I feel like where the rubber meets the road, I bet if you did a study, people who own Kiziks like wear them way more than any other shoes, I bet, just because of that ease of use.
Yeah, that's actually a funny point. I mean, one of the things that we found out and that our CEO likes to tout is, I think, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but essentially we asked people that exact question compared to their shoes, and it was like 5 times more than they were wearing anything else throughout the week. And I think if you've ever worn a pair of Kiziks, there is this sense of aha when you put them on, of like, oh man, like that feels good, and that feels like a regular shoe, and I'm not really sacrificing. And then it becomes like it grows in terms of closet share, and you're like, now I have 3 pairs, and that's kind of all I want to wear, because it's the easy choice, right? It's the easier option. And as long as you don't feel like you're sacrificing something to get something else, then it's kind of a no-brainer. We liken it to how many times are you going out to your car and putting a metal key into your car door to unlock it. I mean, no one really does that anymore. You use a key fob or an app, right? It's just a better choice. It's not like we couldn't do that, but man, I'll take the more efficient, better way all day long, and it feels kind of like a life hack that people are discovering, and so it's an interesting point you bring up, and we definitely have seen it.
And you chose the perfect place to display this in some of your other true top of funnel efforts with your airport shoe bin ad. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that sort of encapsulates perfectly that moment you want people to have, thinking about the pain of taking their shoes on and off and being like, if you were in a Kizik, you'd already be done.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity was kind of came up at a last minute idea from a partner of ours saying, hey, I've seen these advertisement airport bins, and so we looked at it deeper and like, man, that's kind of a no brainer. The pain point is really top of mind, and you're struggling, or you've like I know when I'm in the airport, I feel this pressure by people behind me, kind of like pushing me through the line, and so it just felt like a really natural fit for us to communicate our value prop at a really targeted, tip of the spear approach, rather than, we didn't focus too much on ambiguity or style there. It was like, man, pain point, we have a solution, and here you go. And we saw, that was one of the, as we've done it a little bit more, people continue to tag us on LinkedIn. We get a ton of people being like, I saw this in the Fort Lauderdale airport or Seattle, and we get a lot of people just saying how clever and again, just like some of our early video creative, it's left an impression. And we hear people saying, yeah, I wasn't, your hands are obviously busy. You're not really buying shoes as you go through security, but it's left an imprint. And as they look and are ready to buy, weeks, months down the road, they still there's a lot of recall for that particular placement. So it's been really fun to find those out-of-home experiences that we can take part in. And we have some more exciting ones this year.
Any that you have already done that you can talk about that are sort of off the beaten path?
No.
Okay.
We, in conjunction with our brand launch, we're just looking at a lot more experiential and, just out of home that again accomplishes something similar, maybe a little bit more tied to culture. I guess I'll tease you with that. But still kind of, again, it articulates our value prop really well. And so I'm excited. Keep an eye out in March and April and I'll ping you back with what it is. So
very cool. Back to top of funnel. I'm interested. We've talked TV before, and you're at this point, you guys are kind of fully engaged in TV across a couple different channels. Talk about Kizik's TV approach and what it's doing for you.
I think we're scaling our both linear and connective quite a bit, and it's ebbed and flowed. I think again, it's really determined by creative, and I think as we've invested and focused on kind of our what we call tier one video creative, larger video pieces that we create. We usually create our cuts downs and test in and around those, so we can really create a unified experience both across digital and TV. That's our ultimate goal, is to have something feel cohesive and that it kind of matches the scent no matter where you're going, especially as we have retail and wholesale and these different channels that are offline. We want it to feel like you can recognize the brand. And I think that's what we've learned over time. And what we're trying to be better at is having, our omni-channel experience be really tightly knit together. But yeah, TV's been really great. It's enabled us to reach an audience maybe a little bit older, where as we've gone younger with our brand and especially on paid social and Instagram, TikTok, these areas where it's a little bit younger, getting back on TV has allowed us to really pinpoint and target some of those other audiences that are a little maybe more, especially on connected, we can be a little more surgical on how we target. And so we have a good mix both of, broad linear and then more a surgical approach through our connected efforts where, obviously it's a little bit more tied to our audience that we've discovered on social or search. And so, yeah, we're constantly evolving and learning, and we do most of that in-house and then have a partner that helps us a little bit on the linear side. But it's been a great channel for us, and we'll continue to scale that with this upcoming brand refresh.
Yeah. How have what you did, are people still making Harmon Brothers videos is what I'm trying to say? Has your videos, do you still have that element in your content?
I think definitely are. I mean, I think there's been a lot of inspiration for other agencies and groups out there that still create kind of that humor infotainment approach. I think all
the Super Bowl commercials I've seen come so far for this season have that very much, zany approach.
Yeah. And I think we've outgrown it a little bit, to be honest. I mean, again, as where we started, there's an element to where we're going that for us to be looked at as, fashionable, stylish, there's usually a dichotomy there of like, do I really want the brand that I'm looking to for style and to kind of, represent, do I really want them doing, an added where poop jokes or things that come on, from some of these agencies. And I think so we've kind of pulled back from that. We really focus on being engaging and creating entertaining content. So humor is a great way to do that. And that's never going to leave the brand, but we've tried to evolve and just be a little bit more, I'd say, clever and witty and emotion through other avenues. Maybe there's something that we do that taps into, the sentimental side or, different emotions outside of humor. And that's, I think, allowed us to create a more well-rounded brand. But yeah, I think there's still room for that today. And we see a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of brands that still like to tap into that. But yeah, we've definitely evolved over time.
With all these interesting top of funnel efforts. What, like, just very broadly, what does your funnel look like? Like how much versus, just paid social versus all of these out of home TV, really true top of funnel? Is it like a 20-80? Is it a 50-50? What does it look like?
Good question. I think it's probably 60-40 split between, or maybe I'll reverse that, like 40% kind of really top of funnel, broad awareness, and 60%, more performance, mid to bottom funnel. And I think that, again, it fluctuates over time depending upon the creative and seasonality for us. So spring and fall are traditionally parts of the year where we come out with new product. And so we've tried to create a lot of our content to surround those so that we can really fuel the push that we have. And so right now, where we're kind of out of that season and past holiday, we're looking to gain some of those efficiencies and spend on the performance side, or again, mid to bottom funnel. But as we go into March and April, we're investing pretty heavily, and that'll be probably more of a 50-50 split, where we're doing some of the out-of-home stuff that we've already talked about. We're doing some brand activations in some of the markets that we're really trying to penetrate. And then we have a pop-up planned for like New York City. And so we're investing in some of those areas that are even offline, and to create media and PR and, a different type of top of funnel to support, again, our wholesale and retail efforts. And so I think as we've grown and evolved, we're thinking broader than just our digital presence as well. And how do we start to tell our story from a top of funnel and media perspective through offline events. And that's been really fun to think about as well, and kind of how that all balances out.
And again, works so well for such an experiential product. And all of this is coordinated around this rebrand, essentially. Give me some of the thought as to how what you're trying to do in this rebrand. Like, what are some of the tactics you're employing to shift perspective on the brand, to bump it up to a higher fashionable sense, which is what I sense you're trying to do?
I mean, I don't know that it's anything revolutionary. We again work with a great agency, but really, we spent a bunch of time. I think people talk about this a lot, but we really did. We spent time talking to our consumers and listening to them, what really drives their purchase today. And then we wanted to discover who was inspiring them. So who was their muse? And we went and talked to them and sat with them and spent time in their house and looked at what brands were inspiring them and why. And we came away with some really interesting insight of, this feeling that Kizik can be a catalyst for people to go and do and to explore. And it gives you that little bit of momentum to really enjoy life. So rather than us targeting and telling our story around, hey, you can slip your shoes on and your hands are full and you can get out the door, kind of this juggle struggle. We really wanted to kind of flip that and talk about what could we enable people to go and do and explore. And we only have a finite time on earth. How could we be a catalyst for you to get in your, to bend time to your will and almost feel like you were imposing your will versus letting time kind of, be in charge of where you were going, and kind of that chaotic. And so that was really an unlock for us. And so cool. A lot of our visual and messaging is, again, it's not taking away from, our step in moment and really that aha moment, but it's articulating it and amplifying it in a way that feels a little bit more aspirational. And a lot of that goes around travel and exploration, and it feels just really natural, like a really natural evolution, because it employs a lot of what we want to be as a brand, but just levels us up. So it's infusing its way all the way into the way that we name our conference rooms and the way that we talk internally. So it's been really fun to just work to bring that to life, across the org, and not just, hey, this is what marketing's campaign is or idea, but this is who we are as a brand. And
always good to recatalyze the vision, right? And kind of get everyone behind it. The word that makes me think of is agency. It's just, I think that's what people want more in, like, everyone wants more agency in life, right? But you gotta get out of your house usually to do it. So you need one less barrier. So you might as well just get on your Kiziks and go.
Yeah. Yeah. If we can be that one little spark in your day that is like, oh, that was, that was not me having to bend over and struggle, but less about like the functional, but it's like, oh, that just felt good. And I'm in a better state of mind. And so I can say yes to more things, or, maybe take the road less traveled, right? Like that's what we want to empower people to feel. And I know that's really high level brand. But I think that's the story that we want to communicate and inspire people to do. And
has it been like this at all? This sort of even 40, 60, 50, 50, have you, because I know you started with Harmon Brothers, so you started investing in content right away. Have you gone more towards top of funnel content as you've gone, or has it always been at this sort of 60, 40, 50, 50 mix?
To be honest,
I think most brands just do Meta, right? Most brands just do UGC and Meta. And so it's just interesting that right from the beginning of this growth period, you had an intention to both.
Yeah. I mean, again, it comes back to what we had put our faith in this several times. I mean, we did some of those types of videos that we were talking about at Purple. We did 3 a year or 4 a year. And so there was this level of trust that, by investing in content that drives emotion, drives awareness, keeps people engaged and entertained, but also gives them enough education that they understand what the product does and the value props and things that you traditionally do, that again, when it comes, especially, a purchase like a mattress where you're not in market for most of your life, we know that if we could create that awareness and ad recall and keep people just engaged with the brand, that we would eventually see that, hit the bottom line. And so we believe in it. We've seen it work over and over again, and it's certainly evolved over time. I mean, I don't think Facebook, it has the same, it's just evolved over time. I think YouTube is a place where we've continued to see similar success there, and we've had to kind of rethink our strategy on Facebook. But yeah, it's always been a part of our DNA and what we believe to be true, and leveraging video and storytelling. I mean, I think at the end of the day, brands just want to tell good stories and put it through the medium and the format that people are consuming it. So for us, that's always been video with such a demonstrable product. And so it's always made sense to invest there, and then to see that net out. We like to look at Google Trends and just see if we're making that move up and to the right, we keep scaling, and then we know that that's going to back out to what we've set for our performance goals as well.
And that's both Kizik. Is that hands-free as a term as well?
We look at it. It's been interesting, is like we firmly planted our flag in the category, as we started, and now as you've seen competitors come in, it's muddied it a little bit, right? A lot of people are using, they're knocking off our copy along with some of our product, and so it muddies kind of the hands-free category. But just like on a brand level, that's something we monitor along with your more traditional lift studies, and as we look at brand search and kind of triangulate all those metrics together to say, hey, this non-trackable non-click based view that happens on YouTube, we're tracking that through post-purchase surveys and a variety of measurement tools, and those are kind of what we use to continue to invest or shift strategy.
Yeah, I guess that's just how I'd want to wrap things up. We've talked about this, using a lot of these less trackable methods, less attributable methods where you do see this halo effect. What does your sort of thought process or tech stack even look like in order to capture the value that you're creating top of funnel? It's
tricky. I mean, I think we all know that the bane of our existence as a digital marketer and marketing is measurement, right? And everyone, especially our acquisition team, you want to measure it and then figure out where to scale. And so I think we do the best job we can. I mean, we looking at off-platform metrics, our Google Trends and our brand search, and then on platform, obviously using Meta and Google to run lift studies. And then we have, measurement tools in place, MMM, and tools that again can be maybe a North Star for us or help us triangulate. But at the end of the day, it's mixing all those things together. And, what I love about marketing, there's still room for gut, right? And being just a good marketer and understanding user psychology and user behavior. And so I think we put all of that into a a pot and we figure out what's true and have different opinions from, a variety of people on our marketing team. And that's how we make decisions together and not in a silo from one metric or one source of truth. Because I don't think there is one out there that's going to, at our scale, maybe if you're 1 to 5 million, you're looking at in platform and through a measurement tool, and you're just scaling performance and demand capture. But when you're really building a category in past 9 figures and omni-channel, it takes a variety of inputs, even from outside of the marketing team, from our retail. We here's a quick example, and then we can wrap. But we heard that we had so many people coming into our retail store saying they saw our billboard, and that's what drove them in store. The only way we heard that was from our retail staff. They just said, "Hey, people keep talking about this billboard," and it was a handful of billboards in the Salt Lake area that people were talking about. We would have never captured that through or even our survey tools or anything we were running. And so I think it just takes experience and then being willing to listen to your team and a variety of sources to then triangulate and make decisions.
Brett, well, I think we could probably talk. We could probably talk forever here. So we'll have to come back and keep us updated on Kizik's growth journey. Thanks for coming on today, man. It's a lot of fun.
Pleasure to be here.
If people want to reach out, are you public on the social media? I know you're on LinkedIn there. Anywhere you'd want. We have a lot of aspiring and established entrepreneurs in our audience. At anywhere you'd want them to find you.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. I'm pretty much LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. I'm just Brett Swenson. That's with an EN. A lot of people spell it ON. But yeah, find me and I'd love to chat. Always willing to give advice or share a little bit of our journey. So
nice. Thanks again, Brett.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at directtoconsumer.co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.